My 5-year-old kid was found alone in a parked car, frozen, barely coherent. My parents forgot her during a family reunion. My sister rolled her eyes and said, "She's fine. It's not like she died." I didn't scream. I took action, after which they started screaming. I was halfway through my lunch when my sister Dana called me, sounding annoyed like I had done something wrong. "You need to get to Westgate Mall. Now. The police are here. It's about Ellie." First I thought she was joking. She says messed up things all the time and pretends it's sarcasm. But I could hear noise in the background, walkie-talkies, a child crying, a siren. I asked her what happened. She said Mom thought she brought her in. She didn't. Ellie was in the car. "Calm down, she's fine. It's not like she died." I didn't even grab my coat. I just ran to my car. That morning I had dropped Ellie off with my parents like I'd done a dozen times before. They'd been asking to spend more time with her and I'd finally said yes because they'd been better lately. Bringing her little gifts. Actually showing up when they said they would. For once they didn't seem distracted or indifferent. I was stupid enough to think maybe things had changed. But then Dana showed up. It's always been this way. I'm the older daughter, the one who figured everything out on her own. Dana is the one they brag about. Everything she touches turns into a family group chat celebration. When she walks in, the world pivots. Suddenly her kids need juice, they need toys, they need matching outfits from the mall. Everything becomes about them. So that's what they did. Took Dana's kids to the mall. My mom, my dad, Dana, and all 3 of her little monsters. They loaded them into the car and drove off to Westgate. Only when they got there they all jumped out and forgot one thing. My daughter. Still buckled into her car seat. Outside. In December. The windows were up. The sun was gone. It was 33 degrees that afternoon. I got to the mall in 13 minutes, I checked later. It should have taken 25. There were 2 cop cars in front, lights spinning, and a small cluster of people watching from a distance. I spotted Dana first, standing with a giant pretzel in one hand, looking bored. My parents were talking to a police officer like this was some kind of misunderstanding over a receipt. And there was Ellie. Sitting on the bumper of an ambulance. Wrapped in a crinkled foil blanket. Quiet. I didn't even let myself cry. I went to her. She saw me and didn't say a word. Just climbed into my arms like she was too tired to do anything else. I held her and looked over her head at my parents. The officer told me someone walking through the parking lot had noticed fogged-up windows and a child in the back seat. She'd waited. Watched. Realized no one was coming. She called security. They broke the back window and found Ellie half asleep, confused, shaking. She hadn't even cried. Just whispered that she was cold. When mall security made an announcement, my parents were already in the food court. They waited until they finished their food before coming outside. I didn't scream. I didn't cuss anyone out. I didn't ask questions. I just said no, I didn't want to press charges. But I thanked the woman who called 911 twice. She was still standing there holding a shopping bag, looking like she couldn't believe what she'd just witnessed. Before I left, I looked my mother in the eye and told her this was the last time she'd ever be near my daughter. She blinked like she didn't understand. Dana said I was being dramatic. That Ellie was fine. I said not for you to decide. Then I left. And I started planning what would come next. After I carried Ellie into the apartment that night, I didn't speak for hours. She fell asleep on the couch with her little arms around one of my sweaters, and I just sat on the floor next to her, staring. Not thinking. Just staring. At some point I realized I hadn't eaten. I microwaved leftovers I couldn't taste and watched her chest rise and fall. I kept thinking about how quiet she'd been in that ambulance. Not crying. Not asking for me. Just still. That's what really got me. The stillness. Like some part of her had frozen that wouldn't thaw right away. The next morning my mom sent me a picture. Dana's kids at breakfast, smiling with whipped cream on their pancakes. The caption said cousin breakfast fun. Not a single word about Ellie. Not how is she, not I'm sorry, not what can we do. Just her camera pointed at the golden grandkids like nothing had happened. That was the moment I decided. No more pretending. No more second chances. I blocked her number. Then I sat down at my laptop and opened the spreadsheet I had made a month ago. Flights, Airbnb, car rental, everything for our usual family Christmas trip up north. I had booked it all. I always did. No one ever offered to help. They just sent me names, allergies, and complaints. They called it our tradition, but it was never mine. I canceled every single piece of it. The Airbnb was non-refundable. I wrote it off as the cost of freedom. The airline gave me partial credit for the flights. I canceled the sleigh ride my dad liked to pretend was for the kids, even though he was the one who insisted on it every year. I even canceled the grocery delivery I had scheduled to arrive at the cabin on December 22nd. Then I waited. 2 days passed. Silence. On the 3rd day my mom sent a message. Did something happen? Why are our flights cancelled? I didn't respond. My dad sent a longer one. I know you're upset, but this is extreme. Ellie is okay. That's what matters. We can talk through this like adults. Still nothing from Dana. She finally chimed in late that night with a single line. Are you seriously ruining Christmas over this? Grow up. So I wrote one final message in our group chat. No emotion. Just truth. No Christmas. Not for you. Not with me. Don't ask again. They didn't take it well. My dad left me a voicemail talking about disappointment and family. My mom tried FaceTiming me 4 times. Dana sent 3 voice messages I didn't open. Then she wrote, you need help. You're spiraling. This is why no one takes you seriously. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I went to Target with Ellie, bought the biggest artificial tree I could fit into our living room, and let her pick out every ornament. We spent that weekend hanging lights on every window. I let her eat gingerbread cookies for breakfast and gave her hot chocolate with extra marshmallows before bed. She didn't ask about my parents. She didn't ask about Dana. She only asked if she could open one present early. I said yes. It was peaceful. Quiet. Hours. I started thinking maybe this was what life could be like without all their noise. Without constantly feeling like I'm the outsider in my own family. Without waiting for approval that never came. But of course they weren't done. I should have known. 3 days before Christmas, while I was at the grocery store buying ingredients for Ellie's favorite mac and cheese, I got a text from a neighbor. Hey, is everything okay? Some guy came by asking about your dog. Thought you sold him? My stomach dropped. I called the kennel where my dog Milo had been staying, the same one my parents used for years. I had left him there temporarily since my apartment's pet deposit was still being processed. I'd planned to bring him home right after the holidays. They said he was gone. Your mother came in yesterday with all the papers. She said you moved out of the country and asked us to rehome him. We already processed the adoption. I stood there, frozen, holding a box of elbow pasta. I didn't even cry. I just walked out of the store without buying a thing. They sold my dog. Not a word to me. No warning. No explanation. Just gone. All because I canceled Christmas. And I knew in that moment this wasn't about Ellie anymore. This was about power. Punishment. They wanted to remind me who they thought I was. The disposable daughter. But they'd forgotten something. I wasn't the same girl they raised anymore. I didn't go home after I found out. I drove straight to my parents' house in silence. No music, no calls, just the sound of my own breathing and the road. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I was past all that. I was something colder. They didn't know I was coming, but the porch light was on, and I could see their shadows moving behind the curtains. My dad was in his usual spot on the couch, TV on. My mom walked into the kitchen with a tray of cookies. The house looked warm and cheerful, like the kind of house where people love each other. I walked in without knocking. The front door was never locked. Neither of them flinched. My dad muted the TV. My mom turned from the counter and gave me the fakest smile I've ever seen. She said, "You're not going to ruin Christmas, are you?" I asked them one thing. "Where's Milo?" She didn't even blink. Just said he needed a better home. Somewhere he'd be cared for. I just stood there staring. He wasn't a stray. He was my dog. I'd adopted him before Ellie was even born, when I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment and thought love was something you could earn if you were useful enough. Milo was there through every sleepless night, every move, every fight with Dana, every panic attack, every time my parents made me feel invisible. He was always there. They knew how much he meant to me. That's exactly why they did it. They had gone to the kennel where he was boarding, told them I'd left the country, said they were acting on my behalf. They had old paperwork from when we'd first adopted him, still with their names. My mother always made sure she had backup plans. The staff believed her. The dog was chipped but registered under their address. From the outside it all looked legitimate. I told her she had 24 hours to give me a name or an address. She smiled and said, "Sweetheart, you've always been dramatic. You left him there. We simply found him a better place." I walked out before I did something I wouldn't come back from. Once I got to the car, I sat there shaking. Not from anger. Not even heartbreak. Just shock at how far they'd gone. Over what? Because I canceled Christmas? Because I didn't let them pretend to be the kind of family they wanted people to believe we were? They had taken my dog, lied about me, and never once thought I'd fight back. I opened my laptop and got to work. I called the kennel, who wouldn't give me any information at first. I asked them straight, "Is this about a policy or about covering yourselves?" Eventually someone cracked. Told me Milo had been adopted out to a local family just 2 days ago. A couple. 2 kids. Big yard. No address, but they gave me the names. That was enough. I spent the rest of that day tracking them down. Online searches, community Facebook groups, matching photos with neighborhood maps. They'd posted a picture of Milo already. Renamed him Max. wearing a red bandana and sitting next to their Christmas tree. The caption said, "Welcome home, Max. We're already in love." I messaged the woman first. Told her exactly what happened. Sent vet bills, adoption records, photos of Milo and Ellie from the last 4 years. Birthdays, park days, lazy weekends on the couch. Proof. She called me within minutes. Her voice was shaking. He said, "I didn't know. I swear to you I didn't know." She asked if I wanted him back. I didn't even answer. I was already in the car. They lived 35 minutes away in a quiet cul-de-sac. Their kids were playing with chalk on the driveway when I pulled up. Milo was in the yard, lying in a patch of sun. When he saw me, he didn't hesitate, just jumped up and sprinted straight to me, full speed, howling, tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. I dropped to my knees and wrapped my arms around him. He whimpered like a baby and didn't stop licking my face. The woman was crying when she came outside. She apologized again. Said she'd believed my mother's story, that she had no idea there was more to it. Her husband brought out Milo's things, toys, a new food bowl, even a little stocking they'd hung for him. Thanked them. Told them none of this was their fault. When I got home, Ellie was in the living room watching a Christmas cartoon. She turned her head when she heard the door, saw Milo and just screamed his name. He barreled into her and knocked her backward. She hugged him like she was never going to let go again. And just like that, the light came back into her. We had cookies and cider that night. Milo slept at the foot of her bed again, exactly where he belonged. I didn't unblock my parents' numbers. I didn't respond to Dana's half-hearted apology email that came the next day. I didn't post anything online or tell anyone the full story. Not yet. But I knew this. They thought they could hurt me by taking something I loved. They forgot I've lived my whole life learning how to take it back. I thought they'd stop after that. I'd blocked their numbers. Got Milo back. Ellie was laughing again. I told myself it was over, that they'd be too ashamed or too tired to push any further. I was wrong. 2 days after Christmas, I got a manila envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside were legal documents. My parents were filing for grandparents' rights. I stood in my kitchen with the papers spread out across the counter, just reading them over and over again like I'd missed something. They were actually trying to get court-ordered visitation with Ellie. They were claiming I was emotionally unstable, that I'd cut them off without warning, that I was alienating Ellie from a safe and loving support system. It was laughable. Except it wasn't. Because they'd attached screenshots. Old ones. Texts from months ago when I was going through a rough patch, venting to my mom about stress, about being tired, about how I felt like I was failing at everything. They were out of context, obviously. But to someone reading them without knowing the full story, they could look concerning. And they'd attached one photo I didn't even know existed. It was me, at my lowest 3 years ago, sitting on my porch in the rain, crying with a bottle of wine next to me. My mom had taken that photo. Told me she thought I looked beautiful in the rain. I remember laughing at the time. I didn't know she'd kept it. I didn't know she kept everything. I sat down, breathing slowly, trying to stay calm. They didn't just want revenge. They wanted control. So I called my lawyer. Not a family friend, a real attorney. Explained everything. Sent over the documents. She read them and said they won't win. But they're not bluffing. It would cost me money, time, emotional energy. But I didn't care. I told her to do whatever it took to shut it down. That night I didn't tell Ellie. Just made hot chocolate, played Uno, read her favorite bedtime story. I held Milo while she slept and sat in the quiet, thinking about how this started. A mall trip. A forgotten child in a freezing car. And somehow in their minds I was the villain. But then something happened I didn't expect. The woman who helped me get Milo back, her name was Laura, messaged me again. She said she had something to tell me. Apparently, a week before Christmas, my mother had contacted her again. After the adoption was finalized. She'd asked Laura for pictures of Milo. Wanted to know how he was adjusting. Said she just wanted to make sure the transition was smooth. Laura thought it was weird, but she sent a couple of photos anyway. One of Milo in their living room. Another of her kids petting him. I asked Laura to send them to me. She did. And there it was, in one of the photos hanging in the background above the fireplace. A framed family picture. Of me. Me and Ellie. Taken 2 years ago at the beach. It was one of the only pictures I ever gave my mother willingly. She had given it to a stranger. Hung it on their wall like Milo came from someone who died or left the country or abandoned their child. I didn't sleep that night. In the morning I packed a bag. Not just for Ellie, for me too. I called my boss, explained that I was taking a leave of absence. I'd been working myself into the ground for years anyway. I told him I needed time. He didn't ask questions. Approved it immediately. Then I found a short-term rental upstate. Small place. Quiet. Fireplace. Pet-friendly. We left that afternoon. I didn't tell anyone. No warning. No social media. No email replies. Just me, Ellie, and Milo. Gone. They try to find us. Maybe even show up in court. But I had proof now. Enough to make any judge see exactly who they were. They pushed me too far. No. I wasn't just cutting them off. I was erasing the road back. It had been almost 2 weeks of quiet. We settled into a rhythm at the cabin. Slow mornings, snow walks with Milo, pancakes that always came out lopsided. I had brought a stack of books I never had time to read before, and Ellie had turned the upstairs loft into a blanket fort she called the Peace Palace. She and Milo would disappear in there for hours while I sat by the fire and tried to figure out what my life was now. It was the most peace I'd felt in years. Then I saw the SUV. I'd gone out early with Milo, just a short walk to let him run through the fresh snow. When we came back, I spotted the silver Toyota Highlander parked off the road, half hidden behind a line of trees. Same dent in the front bumper. Same license plate. My dad's car. I froze. Milo didn't bark. He stood next to me, alert but still like he knew exactly who it was too. I didn't move right away. Just stared at the vehicle, waiting for it to drive off. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe they were just passing through. Then the driver's door opened. My mother stepped out. She looked the same. Maybe a little more tired, a little more put together than usual. Like she wanted to look like the kind of person who gets listened to. She didn't even bother knocking. Just stood in the driveway, squinting up at the house like she expected me to come out and greet her. I didn't want Ellie to see. So I tied Milo to the front porch, slipped inside quietly and told Ellie to stay upstairs and play. I said it casually. She didn't ask questions. Then I walked back outside. My boots crunched loudly on the frozen gravel, and for the first time, my mother actually looked a little unsure of herself. But not enough. Not nearly enough. She said my name in that same voice she always used when she thought she was being reasonable. Nadine, can we just talk? She started walking toward me. I stayed where I was. He said they were worried. That this had all gone too far. That Dana's kids missed Ellie. That my dad had barely slept. That she didn't understand why I was being so cold when we used to be so close. I asked her what part of abandoning my child in a freezing car made us close. She flinched but didn't back off. Said she already told me it was an accident, that I'd blown everything out of proportion, that it was one mistake. And then she said the wrong thing. You're not perfect either. You act like we did something unforgivable, but you've had your moments too. We didn't sell your dog to punish you. We just thought you couldn't handle everything. That was it. I slapped her. I didn't even think. My hand just moved and there was this horrible sound, not loud, just sharp. She staggered half a step, stunned, hand pressed to her cheek, eyes wide like she couldn't believe it. Like she thought I didn't have it in me. He was wrong. That's when my dad got out of the car. He didn't run. Didn't shout. Just closed the door and walked toward us like it was another Sunday afternoon and he was coming in from the yard. He looked at me the same way he always had, like I was a puzzle he didn't have the energy to figure out. He asked me if I was proud of myself. I asked him if he remembered what it felt like to hold Ellie the first time. She was 4 pounds. She looked like a little bird. And he cried. I remember that, he actually cried. He told me she was the best thing our family had seen in years. And then I asked him if that memory felt worth anything now after what they'd done. He didn't say a word. My mother was still holding her face, but her shock had turned into something else. Anger maybe, or fear, I couldn't tell. She opened her mouth to say something else and I raised my hand again, not to hit her, just to stop her. I told them if they didn't leave now, I would call the police and report them for trespassing, harassment, and malicious interference in an active family court dispute. And if they didn't believe me, I'd walk right inside and dial the number in front of them. That's when they finally left. No goodbye. No last plea. Just silence and the crunch of tires in snow as they drove away. I went back inside. Milo barked once from the porch as I unhooked his leash. He followed me into the house and curled up near the fire like nothing had happened. Ellie peeked down the stairs. She asked, "Was that Grandma?" I nodded. She said, "Is she mad?" I told her the truth. She's not going to be part of our lives anymore. And that's okay. Ellie didn't say anything for a second, then shrugged and asked if we could make popcorn and watch the Snow Monster movie again. That night I finally got a notification from my lawyer. My parents had voluntarily withdrawn their petition for visitation rights. No apology. No explanation. Just a short, cold legal note. The plaintiffs no longer wished to pursue this matter. I stared at the screen for a long time. I expected relief. But what I felt was grief. Not for what I lost. For what I never had. For the parents I kept pretending might show up one day and do the right thing. The ones I had invented in my head over and over again every time I forgave them. But they were never real. No. Now they were gone for good. Christmas passed like a memory we didn't want to wake up from. Just me, Ellie, Milo, snow falling against the windows, and a small tree we decorated with mismatched ornaments and glittery pine cones we found in the woods nearby. We didn't talk about family. We didn't talk about what happened. We just lived. The court case was gone. My parents were gone. Dana was silent. That silence used to terrify me. Now it felt like space. I let it stay that way. We returned home in January. Quietly. No announcement, no posts. I picked up Milo's favorite food, restocked the fridge, and reset the apartment like we were starting over. Because in a way we were. The very next day, Ellie asked if she could draw a picture to send to her old preschool teacher. She sat at the table humming and drew a house with a blue roof, a big brown dog, and a smiling girl with long hair standing next to a woman holding hands. There were no grandparents in the picture. No cousins. Just us. After everything, she wasn't angry. She wasn't bitter. She was just okay. And that was enough for me. I didn't respond to any of the messages that eventually trickled in. One from Dana a week later. If you're going to hold this over the family forever, maybe you should just cut ties officially. I didn't respond. A short message from my dad around mid-January. We didn't mean to lose you. I deleted it. And my mother? Nothing. Not a word. I wondered if the slap embarrassed her too much to recover from, or if deep down, she finally realized I wasn't bluffing this time. That she'd pushed past the final line. Ellie didn't ask about them again. Not once. Instead, she asked if we could bake cookies on Sundays and if Milo could start sleeping in her room every night. I said yes to both. By February, I had reduced my work hours. I took fewer meetings, passed off projects, stepped away from the grind that had kept me half alive for years. I didn't want to miss another second with Ellie. I didn't want to blink and find out I'd spent more time fixing other people's mistakes than building something real for her. I picked her up from school every afternoon. We walked home even in the cold. I started putting my phone on airplane mode during dinner. She started smiling more in her sleep. Sometimes people ask me if I miss my family. Here's the truth, no. I miss the idea of what they were supposed to be. I miss what I kept hoping they'd become. But the real people? The ones who left my child in a freezing car, who sold my dog to make a point, who tried to rip my daughter out of my arms because I dared to protect her. Well, I don't miss them. Not one bit. And now, when Ellie asks me what love is supposed to feel like, I don't have to explain it. I just show her. Every single day.